Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Terry Walsh. I'm glad to see you today. It's a beautiful day, but it's going to be hot again today outside. I just want to give you an update today for both campuses, for Friendship Village and Chesterfield, as well as Friendship Village and Sunset Hills. I know that those of you in Chesterfield are still under voluntary quarantine at the moment because we had a couple of independent living residents who ended up contracting the coronavirus, COVID-19, and so I know that they had been around the campus and perhaps intermingling with other residents there. And so that's why we kind of had to freeze the COVID-19 threat in place so that we prevented any further spread while we're trying to detect where it did go on campus. And so we're working on that now. Everybody's doing a great job. I do ask, though, particularly in Chesterfield, that under quarantine, you're still taking very extra care with those who are coming into your apartments. If you have any caregivers, for example, that they do go through all the screening. They go through the proper doors where the screeners are able to take their temperatures and assess their risk, because we don't even want caregivers that you might legitimately have in your apartments to bring the COVID-19 virus to you as well. Now, in Sunset Hills, we haven't had that issue yet. I hope it's not just a matter of time. But we know that all around us, everywhere in the county of St. Louis, as well as the state of Missouri and the entire country, COVID-19 is on another wave, another surge. And so the threat has certainly not diminished. In fact, in some cases, it's gotten worse. And even though, particularly at Sunset Hills, we don't have a visitor restriction at this moment, we still do encourage you to be very, very careful in following the protocols that we have. I know that you're able to go out and do things to visit friends and family off campus if you're a Sunset Hills resident, and they're able to come visit you, but we have to maintain that vigilance. I know that sometimes our residents go to visit friends and family or do some things, and they get into a situation that they don't even know that they got into, and then 3 or 4 days later somebody develops a temperature and we do a test and they end up becoming positive for COVID-19. But in the meantime, those first few days before anyone got a symptom, they're mingling with other residents and potentially spreading the virus. And we know that this may have happened in Chesterfield, and that's why we're trying to freeze everything in place, really do a good contact tracing, and trying to identify where else the virus may have gone now on the Chesterfield campus. We're not aware of it having gone anywhere yet. Praise be to the Lord that we don't think yet. There are no signs of it spreading, but the time period that it takes for it to begin showing up is about now. So hopefully we won't get any signs that it spread anywhere on the campus, but we don't know for sure. All I can ask is for both campuses, both villages, that all of you remain very vigilant and adhere to the protocols of wearing your mask, which I think is the single most important factor in trying to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Wearing your mask whenever you're outside of your living quarters, when you're visiting off campus, when you're going on trips off campus, when you're going to the grocery store, when you're having visitors over, when you're walking in the hallways, wear your mask. Also continue to wash your hands, hand sanitize as often as possible. We've got those opportunities everywhere on both campuses. Maintain a social distance from everybody that you contact, including when you're shopping in the grocery store or walking down the hall, of at least 6 feet away from other people. And then, of course, the no contact policy, which is very difficult to do. I know when you have grandkids and great grandkids, it's hard, to maintain a no contact policy because they all want to jump on grandma and grandpa or great grandma and great grandpa. But you've got to be able to do that, because we don't know, you don't know if they might have just gotten it and they don't know it yet, or if you've just gotten it and they don't know it yet and you don't know it yet. We just have to be careful, and I urge you to continue doing that. We've had a great track record so far. We've had a little bit of a concern now in Chesterfield. We're working with that. We're dealing with that. I appreciate everybody's cooperation. We are making morale calls to residents in Chesterfield, all of whom are under quarantine at this point. So those are kind of fun. I make those calls myself as well. I kind of enjoy doing that, and I get to talk to some of you on a more intimate basis on the phone to learn how you're doing under quarantine. And we'll be continuing that process with all of our volunteers, and I believe we have 32 volunteers who are dividing up the population in Chesterfield to make those morale calls. We'll be doing that through the course of the quarantine period, so the rest of this week and next week. But we're really glad to do that. They're kind of fun to do. I think some of you enjoy it as well. All I ask is that you be prepared with a joke whenever your call comes from me, because I do like to require that, like we do for Halloween when trick-or-treaters come to my house. The kids have to tell a joke in order to get their candy. But we do enjoy that. I hope everybody's doing well. We have a lot of things going on both campuses with the expansion project. In Chesterfield, for example, we're just about to begin putting the icing on the cake, or the top layer, the icing on your new driveway as you come in off of Olive Boulevard. So there's one layer left of blacktop or asphalt to put on your new driveway as you come in off of Olive Boulevard. Of course, what that means is nobody can be there, nobody can drive there, nobody can have their car there while they're trying to put this very large but smooth layer of asphalt down in that whole entrance area in Chesterfield. So we're redirecting the traffic around the edges of the Chesterfield campus during the next week or so, or 2 weeks probably, starting next Monday, while the trucks are in there putting that smooth layer. We don't want to have to break up that layer, that surface of concrete, into pieces as much as we can avoid it, because later on those develop cracks where the seams are. So we're trying to do it in a seamless way, and that's why all of the extra effort. That way water can't get in there and freeze and crack, and then we have potholes and things in the future. This will give us an opportunity to have one smooth layer of icing over the top of all that new driveway all at once, but it's going to be an inconvenience for a couple of weeks in Chesterfield. At Sunset Hills, the water feature is very close to being complete. I know this has been a source of entertainment, if nothing else, for the residents in Sunset Hills, watching the water feature be constructed. It's fantastic. It'll be fantastic when it's done, whenever that is, and we hope that that's going to be soon. We know that the other landscaping is going in. A lot of work is being done. We do appreciate everybody's continued cooperation on the meal deliveries. Because of COVID-19, we are kind of delaying the opening of our dining rooms on both campuses, because the opening the dining rooms obviously requires contact between residents and staff. That's the nature of what we do in the dining room, and we know that both residents and staff are going off campus, and everybody's potentially getting into more of a COVID-19 risk when they come back to the campus. And so to try to continue to minimize that contact with employees and with residents, who obviously have to take your mask off in order to eat, that risk gets even greater. So we're trying to keep that minimized, especially during this new surge that we're seeing in the community now. So we appreciate everybody's understanding and cooperation with that. I think the food service has been terrific. We've received lots and lots and lots of compliments on the quality of the food, the selection of the food, and the delivery of the food across both campuses. And I know both of our food and beverage teams on each campus have been doing a fantastic job of taking care of you and doing the best they can under these circumstances. I know it's not the Friendship Village way and the way we used to do things before COVID-19, but it's the way we've adapted to this particular issue in this episode. I think our teams have done a great job in doing that. We are trying to shrink back down now. We were opening up some of our activities to larger groups, larger than 10, but now we've shrunk those back down again because of the COVID threat. So we do appreciate everybody's understanding, but I do know a lot of you are actually participating in more events over your television set and channel 900 in your apartments than many of you even came to a fitness class on the campuses. I suspect some of you are wearing the carpet out in front of your TV set, doing jumping jacks and other things, trying to keep up with our fitness classes there in the privacy of your own apartment. And I think that's kind of fun and exciting, and I hope you're able to do that. I know our chaplain services are continuing to do everything they can to provide spiritual care services for everybody. We have, at least on both campuses before we had the new quarantine in Chesterfield, Bible groups began getting back together again, and some of our religious services happening again, but now we've shrunk those back down to groups that are smaller now and again on television for everybody to see when you need to. Our team continues to work. As you know, we're in the new fiscal year, so our brand new fiscal year for fiscal year 21 just began last week on July 1st. So we are in the process of working into our new budgets for the year with all of our department directors. They've got new budgets that they're starting with. All the money from last year is done. Now we're working on a new budget. Everybody has their budget. They know what their budget is, but I will also say that their budgets are a little bit tighter this year, all the way around, both campuses, because as I've explained before, this year that we just began is going to be a tight year for us as we try to minimize the impact of the startup costs for opening all the new buildings. And both campuses are going to have significant buildings open up over the next 6 months. In fact, everything that we're building now will be open by the end of this calendar year. So it takes staff to get those ready to go, to clean them, to do housekeeping, to feed residents, and to take care of residents in the brand new care centers, and particularly in Chesterfield, the brand new assisted living and memory care building as well, which all of you on both campuses are going to find to be very spectacular. If you're a Life Care member, and most of you are, you're going to be very glad that your Life Care plan includes these new facilities as opposed to the 42 and 43-year-old facilities that we've been using, because at some point in time you may need to use those buildings, but I can assure you those buildings are state-of-the-art, world-class buildings. We will offer tours of those to you so you can see what they look like before we open them to the public, so that you can see what your future may hold. But I can tell you now, you will be very impressed with what you see in those buildings. We have spared no expense to make those world-class facilities, and you are the beneficiaries of that. So I look forward to being able to show those off to you and let you walk through there. I think you're going to be proud to be Life Care members at Friendship Village, both at Chesterfield and at Sunset Hills, to know that this is your community and your village, and this is part of your Life Care plan. So we're really excited about being able to do that, but we know that there are going to be some expenses before we can open the door. And so this is going to be a tough year. And so we are trying to hold back a little bit on some things, at least until the middle of the year, to see how we do. That includes capital expense. So capital expense is that money that we spend on buildings and infrastructure and groundskeeping and all those sorts of things that we do to keep our buildings up and keep our campuses maintained over the course of time. We are not canceling capital projects for this fiscal year, but we are deferring them until the middle of the year, meaning right after the holidays, to see how we're doing financially. If we're doing great and we're beating all of our budget expectations, then there's a very good chance that we'll be able to free up a little bit of capital money in the second half of the year to resume some of the projects that we want to be able to do. But before we get there, we want to make sure that we have a good, strong first half of the year to make sure that we are doing everything we can to minimize our cash outflow for the company, just to make sure that our expense dip that we're expecting in the hockey stick that I described once before is as shallow as we can get it. I don't know that we can get to zero and not have any dip at all, and we plan for a dip. We're supposed to have a dip, and at least 2 of the years, which we've now shrunk down to 1, we were supposed to actually have a deficit in the business plan for the expansion, because it's going to be more than made up for beyond that in the future. We've condensed that into 1 year. We've already made it smaller than it would have been already, and we're still trying to make it smaller still. And it would be a wonderful gift if we're able to come out of the year without any deficit at all. It would be very difficult to do. It'll take a lot of effort on everybody's part to do that, but we're going to try. But we're not going to try to the point where we're sacrificing the quality of life for you or the services that we provide. That is still our number one program. And our number one objective is to make sure your quality of life is as high as we can possibly get it. So we're not sacrificing food. We're not sacrificing any of that or any of the activities or services that we provide. But we are delaying some of those other projects with buildings and things that can be delayed without causing a dire emergency. Now, of course, we do have emergency capital we can use if the air conditioner goes out or the elevator breaks. We have all that. That's not going to be a problem, and that's already covered in the budget, whatever those emergencies might be. But routine, nice to have projects are going to be very hard to come by, at least in the first half of this year. And I know that you understand that. We're just trying to minimize the cash outflow, at least in the first 6 months, to see how we go. I hope everybody's doing well. I know the COVID-19 episode is dragging on and on and on for a long period of time. We all watch the news. We see how it's going. We know that there are surges everywhere, and we're trying to avoid those on our campus. We've actually had a pretty good track record so far. We want to maintain that. We need your help to maintain that. If you happen to go out or your doctor asks you to go out and get a COVID-19 test, you please must let your care navigator know. So that's Michelle Dane in Chesterfield or Amy Meek in Sunset Hills. You need to let them know that you've been asked to go take a test, or that you do voluntarily on your own go take a test for COVID-19. They need to know that, because they've got to track you, and then they've got to try to figure out what to do or begin planning for you on what happens next. If you should come back positive, if you've come back negative, that's good for us to know too. That's even better. But if you should come back positive, it's important for our care navigators to know that early so they can begin planning for that. So please, if you go out for a test on your own or under a doctor's order to get a test for COVID-19, even if you haven't even gone yet, but you're about to, please let Michelle or Amy know so that they can put you on their radar screen and monitor you and then check back with you to see how things went with your test. It's very important for the health of the entire campus, both campuses, as we continue to fight off the COVID-19 coronavirus. At this point in time, we have no residents in either care center that have COVID-19. That's a wonderful thing. They've actually done a great job in both campuses for the last 3 to 4 weeks now, not having any residents. You know, that's where we did have them before on both campuses, but for the last 3 to 4 weeks, we've not had any residents with COVID-19 in the care center. And at Fountain View Assisted Living in Sunset Hills, we've not had any residents with COVID-19. And that's a wonderful story for us. That's a great blessing from our Lord Jesus Christ that he has kept COVID-19 away from us and kind of cleared out our buildings from COVID-19 in our licensed facilities and our skilled nursing facilities and assisted living. But then since we relaxed some of the encouragement to only go out on essential visits and trips for personal needs out in the community and the visitor policy, and we had it on and then we turned it off and now we have it on again and so on, that creates risk in the independent living population. So the policies haven't changed in assisted living and in the care centers. No visitors, period, except for outdoor visits, which are very popular. But in independent living, the ability to move around more comes with more risk. And so we have to ask all of you to continue doing your part, wearing the mask and social distancing and scrubbing in and out with hand sanitizer and all of those things. So I can't ask you enough to do the best you can in that. The staff is doing the best they can. We do occasionally have an employee who came up against coronavirus out in the community at some point with friends or family or on an activity or something, and we do occasionally have an employee that comes down with COVID-19, which we immediately respond to, and they go on 14-day quarantine at home before they come back to work. So we're wrestling with this every day, and sometimes you don't see all of that, but we're doing everything we can to make sure that when we do know of somebody who has COVID-19, that they're not coming back to the campus and risking the entire population. And we've got a whole team that works on that on a daily basis to help protect you as well. I hope this has been helpful for you. Be on the lookout for some wonderful advances in our expansion project over the next couple of weeks. Chesterfield, you're getting your icing on the cake on your driveway. That's going to be fantastic. It's going to be an inconvenience for a couple of weeks while we try to keep all of the cars off of the area that they're going to ice with the asphalt. Sunset Hills, you're going to hopefully see the new water feature start up here within the next week or two. I certainly hope to see it start up within the next week or two. And I think we're going to have a great time watching over the next 6 months all the rest of our new buildings opening up and springing to life with new buildings, state-of-the-art buildings that all have that new car smell. And we'll be able to begin moving residents into facilities that are far more modern, more safe, and more comfortable for our residents as they move into those advanced times of life when they need more help in assisted living or memory care or in our skilled nursing facilities. So it's going to be an exciting next 6 months. I hope you're along for the ride with us. We'll give you tours. We'll make it exciting and fun as much as we can. Hopefully the COVID-19 virus will subside a little bit. Hopefully a vaccine will come out. A lot of things to pray for in what I just said, so let's do that together, and maybe we'll get the outcomes that we would like to have, and the good Lord will provide for us. I hope you have a great day today. It's nice to see you again. We'll do this again next week. Bye now.